Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
Hello, this is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am here with my long-suffering co-hosts. Oh, I was looking at you to, introduce yourself.
No, see, I thought you were going to... Hi, I'm Sam Biko. Justin's running around gathering chocolate in a mug.
This is Samantha Biko. And Justin Curry.
I'm here too.
He's very fancy today. I want everyone to know how fancy he is.
Super fancy.
He's just wearing slacks.
And Greg's shirt is
He's
inside
wearing
out.
nothing else.
I'm wearing... Okay, if you want, the only way I can show you is to take it off, kind of, so sorry. This is an old Imagination Manifesto shirt, but it's so ragged, and I'm wearing it close to my heart.
Okay.
The world is inside out now.
Thanks for showing us your torso, by the way. I wish there was Foley for torso, but there really isn't for podcasting.
Oh, he's working on it. Dear listeners, we just had installed in our studio 2 Olympic rings. I don't know what else you call them. Specifically so we can do pull-ups.
Pull-ups and exercises and stretches. If you labor at art for long hours at a time, you should take a break every hour and do some physical activity.
Which we're learning as we get older and our bodies fail
as
us.
Our bodies begin to
just
fail.
From sitting.
So every hour, yesterday, I did 5 pull-ups every hour on the hour as a way of... And, when you suspend it, it actually, oh man, my spine feels so good as a result of that.
Just hanging from it.
It's not for everybody. It just...
And don't just jump on these rings with no training.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I didn't go from nothing to exercising every hour at the studio. This has been a long time coming. We've finally reached the point where our other studio mate, James, was like, I'm going to put some things up in here so you guys can exercise here too. Here we are.
But speaking of things that you do in your art practice to help build you up, what are we going to be talking about today?
I want to talk about times when you guys had the lights come on. In your creative journeys, moments in which you said, whoa, this is something I know now and I can do now. The moments when you received advice, maybe a moment where somebody politely reminded you, no, there's a different, better way to do it.
Or when the insight light came on and you were like, I need to go out and not only increase my education in my field, but just experience community through something like a workshop.
Perfect, that stuff. So instead of talking about chin-ups, let's talk about art. You got any stories? When was a time, think of a time when that moment where you breathed in suddenly and were like, oh, I get it now.
I don't have any huge, monumental, whoa.
No epiphanies?
Moments. Yeah, I don't think so. It's all little changes over time, right?
Okay, so give me a little one.
Little brain poots.
Yeah,
little brain poots. So this is less of finding a bar of gold and more like panning for the nuggets, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Little pocket.
So before I was on Gregory's radar, I went to a couple of his workshops. I think I went to 3 different workshops that you put on.
That's true, yeah.
One was on Henderson in a library when you guys had just finished Catch That Catfish.
Oh my gosh, that is forever ago. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it was you and John Toon, and you didn't remember me, but John Toon did.
He did. Yeah.
And you guys had just came out with Catch That Catfish.
But he thought your name was Dustin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was too little and embarrassed to correct him, so I just let him go with it.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now him calling you Dustin instead of Justin.
I do remember seeing Catch That Catfish and you guys explaining the process and how it was printed and how much it cost, and you broke down the actual hard costs, and that had never been done before. I'd never heard anybody tell us this book costs $2.60 per unit. We printed 500. We sell it for this amount, so we're gonna make this amount.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Is that was actually an aha moment for us too. Is once we were, it was one of the first commercial projects I had done where I was able to look behind the curtain and make choices based on the money in versus the rewards out.
These guys got help printing it, or
we got a grant, so we applied for a grant. We received a grant to produce a book. So full disclosure, in my this is 10. 12 years ago now, I did a book called Catch That Catfish, which is a little kid's book about a kid that goes, fishing for catfish, and it's the story about the one that got away. But we applied for a grant from Manitoba Fisheries to produce the book. And so in order to do that, we had to include scientific, true facts about catfish worked into the story. So we had to work around, and nothing like super profound, but just like it's not their whiskers, they're called barbels, right? So just naming the things correctly within the story was a part of the mandate. And so as a result, we got support in printing the book and distributing it. We were supposed to give a certain number for free to young people at events, which we did. And then we bought into, that was when the first concept of buying into the print run. They was like, okay, you're going to print 1,000 of these books, you're going to give them away, we're going to pay you to make them, and you're going to give the books away at all of these events. And then we said, well, if we're printing 1,000 books, is it okay if we print another 1,000 books at the same time, since we own the IP on it? And they said yes. And for those of you who don't know, the more books you print, the lower the cost per unit, which means the higher the profit margin. So we were then left with a big pile of books that we could sell at a much better price down the road. We brought up this book a little bit earlier. We were cleaning out the storage room. I am embarrassed of it a little bit because I'm so much better now.
It's fine.
But
You have to have those books. Like, you have to have those projects at the beginning so that you can get to where you are now.
well, at the time it
Mr.
was
Baby
like,
Metal.
yeah, it was the best work I could possibly do. Like I gave it my all for sure. But
Get ready. Well, here comes horror again.
in Bookland, and Sam can talk to this, in the early 2000s, it was not very prestigious to be seen as self-publishing your own work, right? Whereas in comics, since the 70s, printing your own books is how you got books out. So we didn't have that stigma holding us back, whereas other people were like, oh, you're going to do something through a vanity press, you're going to print it yourself, or whatever. We took it as a business decision, and we're going to make a product we think people will like, just like as if we were manufacturing a widget, right? If you make a widget that is useful, people will buy that widget, you have to get it at the right price to upsell it. So we made a book that we thought was good.
And a lot of that comes from just like the whole gatekeeper mentality. Is it worthy of being published? And at this point in time, it's worthy if you have the capital and the will and the energy to put it out. And it's really interesting that Justin's, that was like before you started making your books, like Cassie and Tonk, and
That was like 2000. Yeah, that was like 7 years before my first book.
right. Was Quackers predated Cassie and Tonk?
Yes.
That was a whole different
Yes, it
story.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everything I need to know about electricity, almost predates Quackers. That was my very first one.
And also, I'll just bring up here that we had made this book, right? And then John Toon figured out that if you have made or printed a book, there are all kinds of places, like libraries, for example, who are looking for speakers to speak about the specifics of doing that. And not many people want to share those secrets. And so when we let the libraries know that we would happily put on these workshops and tell everyone exactly how we did it, we booked 10 or 15 of these
You were
things.
workshop crazy. For
Yeah,
a
and they
little
were,
bit there.
the libraries were paying us to come and tell everyone how to make books. And it was like this wild, that was a light for me, where it's like, oh, we're not experts. We just did a thing, and we're going to show you all the steps. We would always start our workshop with like, we're super new at this. Here's how we did it. Here's the mistakes we made.
It's just that demystifying,
Yeah.
which a lot of people even today are still attending these kind of workshops, these nuts and bolts, how to get published, how to do it yourself, because there is still that very Hollywood veneer. Oh, getting published, so easy. Self-publishing, even easier because you can do it all yourself. She's exhausting. But I do feel, it is very important that you did put on those workshops and that those kind of opportunities for people to learn still exist because, like I said, there are still tons of people who don't know the mechanics, the cost, and the energy that has to go into making books.
Well, and little did I know that it also became like a recruitment program. Like we ended up working together as a result. A workshop that we put on, we've helped, Lyndon and Steve do their comic as a result. One of our interns
Creators
was
of Infinite Universe.
Yeah, like you build a community, I guess is what I'm getting at, is that if you're putting time into that community, you may find other people who are like-minded, who are interested in sharing other things in that community, like what we're doing now.
Yeah. It's true. Like we have like the little Comic Cons and Anime Cons in the city where we see glimpses of the community, but they're all they're off at their tables doing their own thing. But it's really, only at like the workshops that you really get to interact with these people a lot.
And we would also always encourage people to call bullshit too, right? To just be like, well, that's not how I do it or what I know about, and just sort of expand the map to say like, well, there's this kingdom over here of self-publishing, there's this kingdom of vanity presses, and there's this kingdom of predatory publishers, and just...
That was a bit of an aha moment. Was I thought there was a formula to like making books and getting them out there. I thought there was steps 1 through 12, and if you did those, you got a book. And the more I talked to other publishers and artists, and I started to realize there is no formula, there is no steps. Everybody's kind of doing it a little different, and there's all kinds of ways to get it done. So yeah, don't keep looking for that magical way.
I don't know why that made me think of this, but when I was, I guess because we're in the Wayback Machine. So I had decided I'm going to make comics. What do you do when you decide you're going to make comics? You go to the place where people who make comics are doing things. So my dad and I had been talking about doing like a father-son trip somewhere. And he's like, you think of anywhere fun you want to go? I was like, yeah, San Diego Comic-Con. And those of you who don't know my father, he's a pretty fun guy to hang out with. So, and he's sort of up for adventures that are outside of his wheelhouse. So when I was like, let's go to this amazing comic convention where, you know, all of my comic book sort of idols are going to be, and there's be this huge pop culture thing.
This was a long time.
Yeah,
2007.
God, even before that, maybe 2005. Most men of his age and vintage would have been like, no, that's nerd stuff. Let me out of here. He was like, yeah, let's try it. I've never done that. So we went on this adventure. And he went off on his own. Like much of the time, he was off exploring it on his own thing, and I was doing my own thing. I had a different agenda. He was there just kind of like taking the spectacle, and I was trying to figure out what is the job of comics. So I talked to everyone who had the job of comics that would listen to me or engage with me, and figured out how it worked. And at one point, I found myself in front of David Mack's table, and the creator of Kabuki, among other things, but he has a stack of graphic novels there, and he's, for a brief moment, he didn't have a lineup, and he's like, what are you up to? And I had some examples of some comics with me, and I showed him that stuff, and he was like, wow, it's really different. And I was like, yeah, and so I don't know if it'll ever work. And he just walked me through the publishing history of Kabuki and how many volumes of it he had to create of it not working before it finally found its audience and started to move. And he was like, if it's different, that can be good. If you love doing it and you feel like you're making yourself a better person by doing it, that can be the only thing you need to have done. And it really, I know it sounds like, it sounds very like the guru on the mountain, but once I heard that, I had that little bit of permission, like, yeah, I feel great making this stuff. That's the only permission I need. And as long as I work around my regular job, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm doing my bit for society.
Yeah.
So why don't I just do it? And I left, I had a lot of interactions like that over that show, but his stood out as being just so genuine. Like he just looked me right in the eye and was like, you don't need anybody tell you that you can, but really he was telling me I could.
And what's so interesting is that now where you are on the other side of the table, you get a ton of people coming up to you and asking you, how did you do this?
Yeah.
And I find that what's really great about that story is that illuminates how a lot of people who want to become creatives, they put these barriers up inside of their own minds that prevent them from moving forward. Like, I don't know how to formulate a comic page. I don't know how to write an opening chapter. I don't know how to plot a manuscript or a series. And the reality is you don't need to know that there's a step 1 through 12. You don't,
right.
Because those steps are going to be different for every single person. And step 1 can be you're just diving in 50 pages down the road and you're just writing something. And like you said, as long as you're enjoying it or you kind of riding that spark, you can get started at any point.
Sound exciting? Blah!
You can also empower yourself by just playing pretend, right? I don't know how to write the first chapter of a novel. So today I'm going to pretend to be a person that can write the first chapter of a novel. And just like when you're a little kid, you play make-believe. When it's over, it's over. You don't have to tell everyone. You don't have to go run and tell everyone what you just played, right? You can do that with your own creative practice. Like today, I am going to write a blockbuster movie outline. And you never have to show it to anybody. But if you just imagine yourself as being capable of doing it, most times you can get pretty close to a first draft just by trying that out.
Mm-hmm.
right?
But you can't get to the end of the first draft without starting.
Right. Yeah.
Just that's something that people just can't get over. They just can't will themselves to just get into it.
So they want all the answers before they even start?
Yes. Yeah.
They need the entire map.
Well, it's like you said, that 12-step program
Yeah.
of being an author, right?
Doesn't exist.
Did you say that because so many authors are alcoholics? Is that why?
Wow,
the 12-step program?
let's
Yeah.
reel it back in.
Sweeping generalization.
Didn't
No.
enter my mind, but
No?
But
it's
way
good to know
go.
what you think of most authors, Greg.
Yeah, so this has been Super Pulp Science, where Gregory is the worst.
Sweeping generalization episode.
What's interesting from my perspective is that I did not, like throughout my formative, I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be a creator, I didn't attend any workshops. I didn't do any formal training. I don't have a...
Were you looking for them?
Nope.
Nope.
Because I was so fueled by delusions of grandeur. Like the
Perfect.
completely other extreme of, people are very reticent to start. I was like, I'm going to be so famous when I'm a youngin'. So I just kind of dove right into it. And it's only been in recent years where I've reeled it back and like, I am crap at a lot of things. So you know what? There's really nothing wrong in learning at this stage of my life. And I've also conducted a ton of workshops and panels, and maybe some of that reticence to attend a workshop or a panel is because I've been so exhausted by giving them, which also sounds bad. You don't have any training, and yet you're giving these education to people. But a lot of my training came from experience.
Yeah, I don't think in our field training doesn't count for much. It's more the practice
and we've
mileage.
ragged
It's your portfolio
on.
that counts.
Yeah, it's your portfolio.
Yeah. But there is something to be said. There's a difference between a good teacher and a good maker.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can get a good teacher, I love, even as an adult, I love sitting in a professional development. I was probably one of the only, well, maybe not the only, but there was a small percentage of teachers in our division who were like super excited about PD days. Like I could not wait for our next PD day because I'm going to learn something new. I was just that super keener right till now. So this year I want to find, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to find a workshop or some class I'm going to take, something to just be a student again.
Or we'll just hire one of our friends to run a workshop.
Yeah, or something.
That
but
we can
like,
sit in.
I was saying I don't know if we mentioned this in another podcast, but I was saying that what I really want, I'm in my 40s now, right, grizzled, that between 40 and 50, I want to learn as much and grow as much as I did between 10 and 20. Like I want to take a decade and just realize that
So you're going to go through puberty again.
Essentially, yeah.
Good.
And
Good.
I'm going to try and replace the inevitable midlife crisis with instead a reimagining of like new skill sets, right? Seems reasonable.
You're not looking forward to that nice new car?
No.
No.
God, new cars are such a waste of money.
Yeah, you're already 50.
You could print 2 like huge full color graphic novels.
It's true. It's
And
funny when you
distribute them
exchange.
for the price of a new car.
You could go to so many cons and learn so many
my
things, or
goodness.
share your skills with so many people.
Yeah.
Speaking of sharing skills, you guys have put on workshops together, specifically talking about bookmaking, especially illustrated books. Do you have any plans for that in the new year?
We want to do another one, yes. We are looking at... Okay, so back up. About, I don't know, how long is that? 2 years now?
A year ago.
About a year ago?
Year ago.
Oh man, we've done so much since that
Yeah.
year. We had a window where we were both around, and we were both feeling like there was a lot of... We'd come back from a number of shows where we were getting lots of questions about how you do stuff.
Same questions.
Same kind of questions. And we just said, you know what? It must be time, right? Let's answer these questions in our own community. And we opened up, we said we got 20 spots. We'll open up the studio and we'll go start to finish how to make a book. We'll talk finances if that's what people want to talk. We'll talk creative side if that's what people want to talk.
How we started it, you started a lot of things this way, was we went around the room and I think we got everybody's name, and then also, what do you want to get out of this? What are your questions? What is kind of your end goal? And we made a list of somebody wanted to know, how do I storyboard? Somebody wanted to know, how do I print it? How do I get it ready for print? All those questions we just kind of wrote down on a list.
So
and
we
we
advertised 25 things that we could teach you, and people signed up for the class. But then when they got there, we said, we have this many. We're doing 3 nights. We have this many hours. let's first make a list of everything you want to leave having learned. And we will build our curriculum around what the classroom wants. And what was neat when everyone shared, like you said, the number of people who wanted little parts of it to kind of help the whole room see the whole picture. Like the way when we teach a workshop, every class gets a different workshop because we first ask them what they want, right? So if you have primarily writers in the workshop, you end up doing primarily writing skill building. If you have like a few entrepreneurs in there, we always end up talking the money and the distribution side.
We had it was
We had a
4 or
mixed
5
bag,
writers. We had somebody doing a web comic, like a weekly web comic that was amazing. She didn't need our help. And a couple of people who wanted to do graphic novels get into that. So it was a good range of all regions of the discipline.
And then it also, if you're putting on those workshops, it reminds you where the mysteries are for people. You know, like at least for me anyway, when I see other people like mystified by some part of the job that we take for granted, right? I realize like, oh, okay, this is a part I should appreciate more.
Sounds like a groovy idea. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
And you guys are going to be doing your next workshop on January 26, 2019 in your studio?
Yes, that is true. And again, we're going to, advertise it as here's a whole big salad bar of skills, and then we're going to narrow it down to when the people arrive for what they want. Our long-term goal maybe around these workshops is to try to build a sort of steady community. We know colorists and we know other writers and we know designers and typesetters and letterers and all kinds of folks. And there feels like right now, Winnipeg is trying really hard to have 800,000 people in it. Like really hard. And there's a certain point in which the numbers will bear out that there's a lot of people who want to learn different stuff. And why wouldn't we share some of that?
Yeah, because there was nothing worse, I think, than flailing when I was starting out and having that everything is a mystery. What do I do? Yeah, I'm just going to jump into it, but what happens when I'm done? What are those next steps? And that can be very crushing, and that can stop you from going onwards. So I think, like in facilitating workshops, at least we can take that away from people. We can alleviate that stress.
Yeah. And I mean, if there's any listeners out there that are thinking like, oh, I'd like to run a workshop, but I just don't know. Take away the idea that you have to be the expert on the podium pontificating for 2 hours, and instead realize that what you are is a guide. People are going to come with questions, and you have answers to those questions. And when your answer isn't the full answer, you just be honest with people. This is as much as I know about that topic, and you'll be so surprised how many other people in the room will add to your own knowledge and add to the knowledge of the room if you just act as a guide instead of a master of that classroom environment. Put on your own workshops.
That's right. And nothing actually shows that you know what you're doing than that you've done it. So there are a lot of people, am I not trained enough? Do I not have enough to say? Speak to experience. Speak to your failures. That's a big thing because you have to learn from them and other people can learn from them too.
Yeah.
We have so many of those.
I was in a TV interview one time and I was in the lineup and there was a couple in front of me who had to go on, and I forget what their business was, but they were so nervous. Like it was just like a 3-minute, little quick interview. They were so nervous. They're like, what are they going to ask? What are they going to ask? And I said, listen, you are the expert on the thing that you came here for them to talk about. Make sure that they ask you process first, like whatever brought you here, so that all you'll have to do is remember. You won't have to make up anything wise. You're just going to be remembering. And for people who, public speaking is scary if you're putting on a workshop. Get in front of a group of people. Remind yourself that all you're going to do is not try to plan some great lecture, but instead remember a journey that you've been on and just tell it. And it'll take a lot of that fear out, I promise.
For sure. And practice. Practice always helps.
Practice is good. Bravery also.
Sheer madness.
That also.
And
good.
delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, all those things. This is what you need.
Maybe some gin.
Well, back to the 12-step program.
There hasn't been a party here for 400 years. We're going to have a party. Yes, we're going to have a party.
So at this time in Super Pulp Science, we're going to do something super new that we've never done before, but it's kind of special.
I would like to give a big Chasing Artwork shout out to Thomas Peters, who has come and met me at a couple of the C4s, and apparently he's a big fan. And Yeah.
His
Hey,
aunt,
Thomas.
his aunt Sherry Peters reached out to me. She's a friend of mine, and she's also a self-published YA author. And she's attended a couple of our workshops in the past, and so we're circling back around to the importance of building community.
Oh, and it's right there, right? And it's funny, this notion of fame. We talk about that for a second? Like the idea that a shout out, like it's cool, we're shouting you out, Thomas, that's awesome. But we're not special, right? We're just people doing stuff.
And that's why I'm here to remind you,
Right.
you are not special.
That's right. We're
Sam
not special.
cuts us down on a daily basis.
Whatever you think we are doing that you admire, you are 100% capable of doing, Thomas. And the only difference maybe is in the amount of practice that we have at doing it. And there will be a time in your life, Thomas, where someone is going to want you to shout them out because you have kept at the thing that you're good at until other people see it.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's a good way.
This super sentimental episode of Super Pulp Science has been brought to you by feelings and integrity and community.
And delusions of grandeur.
Lots of that.
Join the fight and make comics.
Bye, Thomas.